you didn't have to.
Are we on?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, hello. How's it going, everyone? It's good to be back. All right, we got a little reverb there.
A little bit of audio check. Evan, how are we doing?
Sounded fine.
Excellent.
All right, today we have the HYDROC to go against the MSI Titan GT.
Titan 18HX.
Yeah,
This thing is massive.
it's a beast. I will give it that.
Yep.
Yeah, our HYDROC is carrying the same specs. We have an i9 14900HX going with the RTX 4090. Each of these have a what else is there?
All the memory modules are populated. This one here has 4 memory DIMMs. Unfortunately, the max speed of that is 3600 megahertz. I did attempt to explore faster speeds and solutions, but no luck.
Mm-hmm.
And the HYDROC, are we running our...
We are
Mannix in
running
that?
our Mannix 6400 megahertz memory inside of here with a 2 terabyte WD Black, and this is running RAID 0 with.
It's got some fast drives in it.
It is. I think there was 4 SK Hynix SODIMMs, but they're actually only running at 3600 megahertz. And even if you put in, you said 2, it still results at 3600 megahertz.
Yes, and if you try to put in 1 or 3, it won't post.
Right.
128 gigabytes of memory versus 32, which
32.
should not impact today's testing, but it's just a fact of the spec.
Yeah. So the first test that we're going to run today is going to be Cinnabunch R23. For reference, disabling the DGPU is the optimal way to get the best results. So thankfully, this just came with an update.
That's right.
A couple days ago
Yep.
that Bob put on that now features. It said muxless. Now it actually is showing that it has DGPU functionality and also iGPU. So they're both set that way for iGPU.
That's right. We have had this machine in-house for about 3 weeks now, and initially the mux switch was grayed out. We had no adjustability there. So now we have integrated graphics setting only, which is very unique. Our HYDROC does feature this as well. You have hybrid, we have advanced Optimus, and then, of course, dedicated GPU mode. And there is quite an advantage of running Cinebench in integrated graphics, which we really want to showcase here today. It's a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
so Cinebench will do a single loop for maximum score.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess let's do it. So we have. You want to start it up? We
Yeah,
have
sure.
Benchmade on here.
The fans on this MSI are really loud, so.
Oh yeah, I don't know if the fans will pick that up or not, but once you turn those fans on, it's a beast.
Yeah, listen to this. It is insane.
All right, let's get it running.
Yeah, we'll do a single loop.
Ready?
Make sure I am.
Ready? Yeah. And we're off to the races.
People are asking questions. If you guys have chat up, or I can
Sure.
read them out. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, if you want to read some out.
All right, let's get these questions rolling. So, first we have any issues of water staying in the system?
Any issues of water staying in the system? No. So the HYDROC actually has the first ever hydraulic chamber. So, I mean, it's an advancement basically to what we had last year on our MEX 17 GP3 and our MEX 16 GP. But between those two models, basically what you're going to see is instead of it being stacked over top of the CPU and the GPU, it is now actually integrated into the heatsink. So it will eventually allow for even thinner opportunities for all chassis for that matter.
Yep.
But for right now, it is just a really exciting solution, and it actually provides a heck of a lot better performance in terms. Well, doesn't have to be performance; it's cooling. Because honestly, some of the times, if you see the Air versus the LPP, it's just a matter of just providing a better user
experience.
experience.
down.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's see what we got here.
Go ahead and read them off.
All right, so Bob, you have a 34,597.
Okay, and that's been about the best score I have been able to get on this.
Okay, and the HYDROC Only 32,907.
32.9 on the HYDROC. Is that even
All right, give me a second. That can't be right.
okay?
Sorry. Let me take this over.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you guys can hear me okay, if it's better now, but so I'm just going to pop in a little XEU profile. We are doing a 16 versus an 18 here, so yes, the Titan did get a better result so far, but let's just see if we can give it a little something. Thank you, Bob. All right. The priority of both of these are set to high, by the way. That's also something to keep in mind, but so let's go ahead and give this another run. Bob, I'm going to give yours another run.
You want to max fan it?
It's okay for right now, but
Okay.
we do know what was that, 34,597?
34.5, yeah.
Okay.
After hearing the fans on this MSI, I don't even hear this machine running. It's weird. Yeah, I know it's on.
I was wondering if max fans were on.
Yeah,
For this.
I was too.
All right, so we got 35,840. I don't know if you guys can see that.
35,840, matching it. Something seems amiss though.
It does. Oh, you know what? This is the max 15.
Oh my gosh, this little Max 15, this tiny little
Sorry.
15-inch Max 15 was competing against this giant Titan.
All right, let's
Oh, that's
bring
so
in the
strange. All right. Jokes aside, that was the new Max 15. It's quite a little beast, and now here is the HYDROC.
And for the HYDROC, we'll do this on air to start us off.
Yep.
So for anybody who needs
Now,
to
I
see
normally would have just powered it off, but Will wants to be like just straight up. He unplugged it, so it's, yeah,
People like that.
yeah.
All right, so we're on max fan on the actual HYDROC, not a kidding system of the Max 15, which also obviously just held its
That's-
own against the Titan.
That little thing performs so well. Now, the Max 15 does not have a hydraulic chamber. It is not LPP compatible. And with very little effort, it was able to compete with this monster. I'm kind of proud of that. Like,
I know.
that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
It's awesome.
In fact, that's probably going to be your daily driver, right?
It is. The Max 15 is the one I'm excited to get for myself at this point.
It's done.
How do we do? Yeah, you want to be the one to reveal that? How do we do?
38,176, baby.
38,000.
On air.
Huh.
And
Wow.
that's stock, by the way. We have it set to it's a custom profile set to beast mode essentially, and it is on max fans. But that is like a generation improvement. I mean, you're getting like a 5900 HX instead of a 14900 HX.
That is about a 15,
Right
16%
there.
bump over what we essentially been able to get the best of out of this Titan.
Yeah. So I mean, we can do air, but air the liquid cooling if you guys would like, or and it's not really going to change too much.
We
on
could also
on the
do a
score, but-
10-minute run if you want to
That's true.
kind of establish a
If you
proper.
wanna do that, we can also answer your questions as well.
Right, if we did a 10-minute heat soak, we'd have 10 minutes to answer all sorts of questions.
That's fine.
So we'll run that on both.
So Bob, you're going to want to max your fan out.
Oh, for sure.
Evan, do you have both systems right now?
Yeah.
You ready, Bob? Sure.
All right, folks, you got 10 minutes undivided attention while these things get a good heat soak so we can see what reality looks like. It's a lot of fun. And questions. Evan, lay them on us.
Yeah.
All right. Did you guys answer essentially what the difference between the HYDROC and the mech is?
So one
The
of the
HYDROC
primary
and the mech?
HYDROC and the Mech
Okay.
17. So this year the Mech 17 is actually going to have. Last year the 13th generation did not have cooling over the CPU and the GPU. It was just the CPU. This year the Mech will integrate the piping over the GPU and the CPU, but the difference is still. It's definitely a performance difference and cooling, I should say. But for the HYDROC, that is just it's almost like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's a light year above of
Yeah.
It just takes a huge step in everything. But aside from that, I mean, aside from the actual cooling of the system, it does also factor in a couple new things. One of which I'm loving is it's has the first per key membrane RGB keyboard. That last year it was the Cherry, and we will still continue to offer the Cherry on the Mech 17.
Yep.
The Mech 16 we're not going to carry. It just really didn't make sense to have two 16-inch models.
Mech 16.
And the brightness of the HYDROC is increasing to 500 nits instead of last year we had a 350 nit display on the Mech 16, and a 380 nit will continue on the Mech 17.
Really, the only big changes from Mech 17 13th gen to 14th gen then is just the newer refresh CPU and the way the water piping is routed.
Right, but in addition to that, there is a couple other things that I guess we can show some of them, but so I have another HYDROC here with me. I don't know if you guys can see it here or how well you can see it, but so it's going to come standard with an 80 watt hour battery, but if you see right here, yeah,
Thanks, Evan.
right about here, you're going to notice that we have a desktop grade PCIe Gen 4 SSD, and that is something that we're going to offer. That was something I've been pushing our ODM to do for quite a while. And I just like it because then you know you're going to have a throttleless experience with the SSD, but we will have a 99 watt hour battery option. It comes with G-Sync. It's going to have DDS, which is Advanced Optimus, so you can switch between the DGPU and MS Hybrid if you want to do that from the get-go. We're going to continue to offer the 6400 megahertz Mannix memory that we're custom binning ourselves.
And I think the Mannix will work in the Max 15 as well, correctly? Is that right?
Mannix
For the 4060, 4070 models?
No, so the Mannix is not going to work inside of a 4060 and 4070 model. It requires
Good to know.
1.2 volts to work that way.
Okay.
So the chipset of the motherboard and everything on the chip design for the 4080 and 4090, which this HYDROC offers, that's 4080 is going to be our base solution for the HYDROC. This will have support for the 6400 megahertz at 1.2 volts. The Max 15 is going to continue at 1.1 volts, which is the JEDEC standard.
Okay. Like 5600 megahertz speed.
5600
essentially.
megahertz is what we're going to be carrying a lot of Samsung this year for our memory, aside from if you go with the Mannix, which is again our custom bin stuff, and that's SK Hynix chips.
Yep.
Lee asks, does the hydraulic chamber improve air cooling at all, like a vapor chamber?
The hydraulic chamber itself, I wouldn't say it's actually the actual liquid, like the base of it is. I think that it is, well, yes, from an air cooling standpoint, I think it was, I wish I had the figures with me, but it is definitely a significant improvement over last year's as well.
What it's kind of allowed us to do, and sort of the way we do things at Eluktronics, is if we're given the opportunity to push the wattage higher, we're going to. And the wattage limits of the CPU for the HYDROC are significantly higher than they are for the Mech 17. And that's nothing that's a whole motherboard revision. It's the whole process that allows this to happen, ultimately because of the cooler. So if you were to take a step back on wattage and actually dial them back to, let's say, 45 watts and compare lower wattage versus lower wattage on two separate systems, then you could really see the efficiency of this hydraulic chamber. Does that make sense? Because otherwise, you're going to put the pedal to the metal here and just crank the wattage, and you're going to see thermal throttling, essentially.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of how we get the best scores out there. Mm-hmm. So it is better, especially if you respect the wattage. You're going to see a very nice air-cooled and water-cooling improvement.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I mean, during CES, I had the opportunity to meet with a couple of NVIDIA executives, and I just kept pushing. I was like, I understand that 175 watts is supposed to be the maximum, but if you really let us push up to this, but it's just, I think they want to make sure that it's a level playing field for everyone, and, I think it would give an opportunity for the liquid cooler to really show itself even further if we could actually do it that. go up to something like 220 watts, 200, something that it was above 175. But in that area, we just can't do anything. We have to stay at 175 watts, but you're still going to see, our performance is really doing air cooling or liquid cooling. It's
top tier.
it's so impressive. There's nothing that compares to it right now.
On something this small. This
Yep.
is a small laptop.
And truthfully, I mean, like, as Bob's thing is going here, like, I had to ask him to turn it off. I was like, this is just, like,
It's very loud here,
the
guys.
max fans on the Titan is obnoxious. It's insane.
We have, what is the maximum RAM that the Hydro can hold?
Maximum RAM, it's going to be 64. HYDROC would be 64 gigs because we've tried on the 48 gig SODIMMs and the heat just doesn't work.
Right.
So, I kept trying for 96 gigs. Bob did a lot of testing on it, and we just couldn't find anything that made sense for dual 48 gigs at this time. Unless something changes, we tried 5600 megahertz, we tried 4800 megahertz,
yeah,
and it just wasn't.
It was
wasn't
still
doing
hitting
the trick.
130, 135 degrees Celsius. Now, keep in mind, like, the way that we test things is for just ultimate stability, right? We're not putting it on a liquid cooler and max fans. We're testing it in auto fans without the LPP because it's the way it needs to be done. Like, we can't sell you 96 gigabytes in a laptop that, well, it won't throttle as long as you're doing X, Y, and Z. That's not fair.
Yeah.
So memory needs to be very stable. It is a very important part to the laptop. So,
well, at the same time, though, I will 100% say that it is entirely likely that you can install 96 gigs of memory.
Absolutely.
If, we're going to continue to offer the build your owns. You can very likely do 96 gigs without issue inside of your system and never see a problem at all. But the test that we perform to make sure that it just is going to qualify as something that we can put our name behind, that's not going to happen right now.
no.
Not the way that this is currently offered. So eventually, I'm pushing for it, but I just don't know. We need to make sure that everyone who gets it is not going to have an issue. So that's why it has to stand for our standpoint
100%.
for right now.
Is there still no way to get around NVIDIA limiting GPU power consumption?
They set the VBIOS, so there's nothing that you can really do about that. That's where I'll say that I'll stand there for now.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to flash a video BIOS on here either to try to improve that. For one, they shouldn't exist, and if so, you could wipe out Advanced Optimus and G-Sync and take that away really quickly. So
Yeah.
I just, as a friend, I wouldn't recommend trying
It doesn't even matter, though, because the VBIOS on our system is 175 watts. Everyone else is
Exactly.
no one's going to go higher than ours. We're all at the maximum if your hardware can even offer that. There's
Sure.
there's other models that are being capped down at 100 and 125 watts with dynamic boost or things like that.
They want to know why you're using a 16-inch model instead of a 17th with some water cooling. They said 17-inch has more cooling performance. As for me,
Well, I can't always say that size is going to make that large of a difference. Right now we're sitting next to an 18-inch that has these massive heat sinks.
It's
Huge.
beefy.
It's gigantically thick. Everything about it is, here's our HYDROC at 16 inches that is outperforming this by a generation, like 15%?
Yep.
And so I don't think the 16-inch versus a 17-inch is really going to make the difference. And truthfully, I think the market is more interested in a 16-inch than a 17-inch from what market research seems to show.
That was going to be the next thing out of my mouth. From a popularity standpoint, this is a pretty safe bet. And who's to say what could happen for 2025, 2026? It's not like we're not considering expanding our options, but for this moment, this is what we've got. I think we're pretty proud of this one.
Yeah, if we were to do something next, I would say it would be an 18-inch instead of a 17-inch because at this point it makes more sense to have a 14, a 16, and then an 18.
Yep.
So I think if you're going to see something else in the horizon, don't expect another 17-inch from us as a flagship because this HYDROC, I will say it now, is definitively our flagship for this year in comparison to the Mech 17 GP. We're going to call that the Mech 17 GP3 for the refresh that it's going to contain, and I would choose the HYDROC if I had the option. That's if I was for performance. It also has a new revised keyboard that I like the feel of the keyboard.
With an enter key.
With an enter key,
By
that
the
was
number
huge
pad.
for me. I kept pushing for it, and we finally got it. But the Mech 17, with the Cherry keyboard, it's loud. You have to be ready to know that that's going to be loud. That's not for, a work environment. It's not for the library. It's not for places like that. But
Did this finish?
it might have just finished.
Yeah, they finished.
What do we have? All right, so Bob, mine is posting up 37,781 on
Jeez.
a 10-minute test throttle.
You suck. I'm at like 32.
32,347.
Can I turn these fans off?
Yes, please, please. Just to recap as well, our system is set to what would be the beast mode of our unit, and out of box, this isn't with an XTU profile set. For the Max 15 to reach that close to 36K, we did have that on XTU profile just for fun.
Right. Which you could equivalently set up in the BIOS.
Right, but
we're just doing a quick.
But I mean, like, seriously, the mere fact that I think that this is a little bit gimped out of the box. I think that they could do a lot better than this.
You would
and
think if we had the
price
size
tag
to work with.
Oh my gosh, the price tag is just night and day between what we're going to offer versus the Titan. It's just not even in the same ball field.
So they want to know, or Werner asks, so tell us about the HYDROC chassis. Is it all aluminum? What are the ports,
The HYDROC
the
chassis
screen?
is all aluminum. Every cover is aluminum. That is correct. Yes, it's a 16-inch, 16x10, 500 nit QHD, 240 hertz. That's a lot to say.
Yeah.
G-Sync, DDS, Advanced Optimus. It has
iGPU mode, so it's got that extra mode for the muck switch. It's
and iGPU mode does really help for the Cinnabunch scores, just to show that the CPU to flex.
Speaking of which,
And we should probably switch this
we'll
to
put
DGPU
this,
now.
Yeah.
They want to know, when will orders start and how much will the new Mech 17 cost with the RTX 4080 and the new 16-inch with the new cooler cost?
Give me a minute, Evan, so I can.
No, you're good.
Yep. You want discrete mode, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so in regards to cost, this is a weird one. I'm going to say it here that the HYDROC and the Mech 17 are surprisingly very close in cost, because I think the 17-inch display costs more than the 16-inch display. But I don't want to convince anyone off of not buying a 17-inch, or especially the Mech 17, because it's a very popular model for us. But I would almost compare it like you're buying a 2023 car that is continuing in that, it was already developed and that's what it came with. And it came with a refresh, but this is like the 2024, it's your 2024 car. I think it's a much better appeal to the look of it. The chassis, everything about it is just more premium. Even the feel of it, I just really enjoy on the HYDROC in comparison to.
It's a step up. It really is.
To many laptops that I've compared, and I will always be honest if there is like a laptop model that I think is really nice, or if it has different qualities that I can call out. In my opinion, the MSI Titan is not worth its price tag in any way, aspect, or form.
Yep.
But yeah.
Next is, what's going to be the speed of the base memory for, say, 64 gigs for the HYDROC?
It would be 5,600 megahertz.
Bob, can you read the Brax Tech one? It's like specific setting questions.
Yeah, let me find. There we go.
Braxtech, that was a 10-minute run on liquid cooling. For the HYDROC, yeah, that was liquid cooling.
It's the one with the stock LLC and the CPU PL1 too.
Oh, so for reference on the PL1, PL2, the system is going to be running, the HYDROC in particular also will run at a higher wattage than the Mech 17. The PL1, PL2 will be 200 plus watts, and it will I think the mech might be closer to 160.
I think it's 160. I have a screenshot of it that we had. I saved it on my laptop today. But yeah, that's 160 is correct.
Right.
Oh, and the undervolt. So the undervolt out of the box won't be as much, and it's going to be very unlikely that you would be able to match 13th gen undervolt. So I've covered enough mobile Intel chips to know that, like, if you have a refresh of something, Intel tends to tighten up their tolerances a little bit. So if our 13th gen was 125 millivolt undervolt, we might be at 70 on this. And that is still a little bit of a work in progress, because we really have to sample out a lot of these things in order to find stability and then create the mod so it's flashed across all of the units. And then our builders will go and test the daylights out of them to make sure that they don't flake out. So I know that was a long version, but nonetheless, the undervolt is likely not going to be as aggressive as the 13th generation.
Before I set up these 3D Mark benches, does anyone want to see the HYDROC on air or liquid cooling for Time Spy versus the Titan? So, we'll do a Time Spy run here. If you want to see it on air, please let us know. Or if you'd rather see it on liquid cooling, let's get it going.
Yeah.
Will we see any 18-inch models with water cooling?
Will we see any 18-inch laptop models?
I guess from us.
Not this year. That's where I can stand there.
Werner says both for your question that you just asked.
Oh, okay.
All right.
That was the only response we've gotten so far for that.
So yeah, we can put it through a run and then chit-chat some more.
Brack says one run with max fans and one run with max fans plus LPP plus beast mode. Antonio says both if you have the time.
We'll at least get 2 runs in with its best leg forward. For each
Yeah,
one.
Leggy, we're not going to be doing any gaming tests today, I don't think, but we can
That's correct. Just
probably
benchmarks
do that
and
another
chit-chat.
time.
Yeah, everybody's saying both. So. All right, so I'll disconnect the LPP for right now.
I'm going to turn on the Hurricane here. Oh, that's so loud. That's impressive. That is impressive.
I can zoom in if you really want to show.
No, it's okay. I'm just showing that it's disconnected. Max fans are on.
Yep. I'm discreet. Extreme performance.
Bob, here, let me see that. I'll show it to everyone.
Sure.
So, just to show, this is set to extreme performance. We are now in discrete mode, and I don't think I actually switched off. Did I switch back? Okay. Yeah, we're both on discrete mode at this point on the 4090. And Bob, if you want to close this, I'll close this out.
Thank you, sir.
And we will run some Time Spy.
Did we ever say the HYDROC pricing?
So, I mean, pricing on both is probably not quite dialed in yet.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of in between, but I can guarantee you the pricing will be significantly better.
It'll be competitive, that's
than,
for sure.
Than what this isn't even competitive. That's just they're just trying to gouge you.
No, this costs more than my car. About $1,000 more. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I love my car, so I'm just saying it's yeah.
That's actually true, Bob.
It is 100% true.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
Are
these running?
The MSI is collecting system info. The HYDROC's running.
Okay.
There's USB-C charging on both the new Max and HYDROC, right?
That is correct.
Yep.
Yeah, there is.
Is it
USB.
140?
It's 100 watts.
100 watts. Okay.
Yep.
And will we be able to? Are we getting power supplies for that?
We're considering offering power supplies that would be, if you wanted to order it as an option. But actually, another thing that this HYDROC will have this year, and so will our mech, is a 330 watt GAN adapter. The Max 15 will have a 280 watt GAN adapter. that we will be including as a standard with all of
It's
our
nice,
products.
very dense package.
Yeah.
This Titan has a 400-watt adapter.
I thought it was 450.
400.
Is it?
Positive, yeah.
Okay.
The MSI just started.
Okay.
They want to know. So Leggy says, "Will there be a Prometheus? I'm mainly only hearing about mechs."
All right, Bob, you're right. It says 400 watts. Touche. Sorry, what was the question, Evan?
Leggy asks, "Will there be Prometheus? I'm mainly only hearing about mechs."
There will not be a Prometheus replacement for the current chassis that we have.
You're going to make Evan and I cry.
I'm already crying.
Yeah, but to be fair, there will be colors to the Max 15 and the HYDROC 16. But the colors right now, for reference, the well, I'm feeling some heat coming off of that.
Yeah.
The Max 15 will have colors. We will have these shipping at the end of this month. The HYDROC is only going to be offered in black initially, and then the colors will come later, closer to June.
Will there be a mechanical key switch, similar how there was a custom switch design in older Mech Mag models in development for the new keyboard layout?
The new keyboard layout has no intention of a cherry keyboard design right now. Truthfully, I mean, like, we actually did get a decent bit of returns. I tried to be as clear as we could about how loud that mechanical keyboard is. This is weird, but they were actually brown switches. They were just still highly audible through they were Cherry MX low profile keys, and they were just surprisingly very audible. This Titan does have I believe the same Cherry MX key, and it is quieter than our Mech 17. I will give it that.
Yes.
But no, there is no plans for the HYDROC to have that.
So when are you planning on starting to do shipping for the HYDROC and all that, like pre-orders and whatnot?
There's been a good bit of delay, I would say, because of... What is it?
That was on air, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You run it again?
Yeah. Did I cut you off? No, I might have made a mistake actually keeping these systems as close as they are, because actually I can feel the heat coming off of the Titan, like shooting in towards this right here, so I'm just wondering if it's actually affecting it.
Yeah, for airflow, this one's going to dominate. It's going to push that right in there.
We're still running on air over here, but there is some real heat coming out
Nice.
here.
21,335 in total. Graphics score 23,227. CPU 14,600.
Okay.
Okay.
CPU score is interesting.
They didn't. I don't think they heard me. So you didn't
Okay.
like that. So Werner wants you to explain the battery. He says stock will be 80 watt hour, right? So how do you upgrade to 99 watt hour?
So when you order through our website, there's going to be an option to choose between the 80 watt hour and the 99.7 watt hour battery.
What about Amazon? Will that be just straight 80 watt?
Amazon, I am intending to do more mainstream, which would be an 80 watt hour focus.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you are ever looking technically for a better, price or better, sometimes you might find our products are the same price on Amazon, but there's always a free gift offer that we're including. So, like, if we pay Amazon an extra commission for what we're selling, so we typically reflect that in extra gifts. Like, we'll give extra things like our Ultimate Gaming Bundle, which comes with the headset, a really nice mouse, and HDMI cable, and what else is there? Am I missing something?
Yeah.
Oh, the mouse pad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We could just have more SKU options in general too on the website.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot.
There's a lot more opportunity for us to put our options on our website as
Absolutely.
compared than there is on Amazon.
For when we stream games, I'll probably go in the Discord and ask you guys like what you guys play mostly that is really demanding. That way we can really see how it handles like emulations and whatnot. So, is it so hard to make 140 watt Type C charging, or even more like 240 watt?
It's a different IC for one, but there is more to it than just making it compatible for that. The 100 watt-hour Type C charging is something that we're excited to offer. We actually are. There is a 14-inch model that would be more of like a Meteor Lake based solution, iGPU, or a Ryzen 9 for this year's generation, which would have a 100 watt Type C adapter that would actually be the proprietary connection entirely, because it doesn't need that big of a a pack. But I wouldn't say it's not just that simple to swap up to a 240.
Right.
Approximately, what is the weight of the Max and the HYDROC?
I'm trying to think. I always do the kilos.
HYDROC's 5.8.
Is it 5.8?
It is very dense. It is freakishly heavy for the size of it is. It's kind of neat. But yeah.
The Max 15, I would have to check, but I think it is.
Is it right at 5? Do I have my scale?
It might be right around 5 pounds.
Yeah.
And the Max 15, I'm trying to think what else. That will only feature 4060 and 4070 as GPU solutions, because again the 4080, 4090 are going to hold the spot for our HYDROC here this year.
So Werner asked about the battery because he was told when looking at the Prometheus on the site, shipping for the 99 watt-hour battery wasn't possible. Will the HYDROC 16 ship internationally with a 99 watt-hour battery?
Yes, the HYDROC. If you order it and configure the system that way, we will be able to include a 99 watt-hour from the factory, from our production facility here.
Will the HYDROC support PCIe 5.0 SSDs?
It will not support PCIe Gen 5. It's going to be two PCIe Gen 4 SSDs. And going back to that from earlier when I had showed the connection, you saw that there was the WD black with the WD black with the heatsink. That can only take one heatsink the way that the design is currently laid out, because the heatsink is a little bit thicker.
It wraps around the sides of the
right.
PCB.
So we actually do have another solution that will, if you order a secondary SSD PCI Gen 4, we're only offering PCI Gen 4 for that matter, but it would have its own heatsink on top of it as well that we're going to make sure that we integrate.
Thermal pad, heat sink, and then it'll have that band.
Right.
So the
HYDROC on air.
All right, so I'm seeing 22,913 for the HYDROC and 21,335 for.
These are overall scores.
These are the overall scores, and this is again on air currently for the HYDROC.
How they do individually? What's the GPU? We had like 23 on the MSI, low
Graphics
23s.
score is 23,227 and 23,358.
Nice. Now the CPU though should be substantially different.
CPU is substantially different. The MSI is 14,600 and
So 14K on the MSI, 14.6,
20,684.
20,000 on the HYDROC. So, yikes.
So did you guys? I guess we're gonna do a liquid cooling version of this next.
Sure. Now, I just to be clear, so I can kind of put some method to the madness here. That the reason why that TimeSpy CPU score is as high as it is because of the 6400 megahertz memory. That memory helps in just that benchmark for the most part. It doesn't really do that much for Cinebench. As a matter of fact, it doesn't do anything. But for TimeSpy, it really helps it stretch its legs. So, and keep in mind, this is at 3600 megahertz versus 64. Now you're putting it on water?
It is.
Nice. And you want max fans on here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, well, we already ran it once. Do we even need to run this again?
I mean, go ahead and run it again. It's fine. We'll run them twice. The other thing to reference, on the display for the MSI, it's typically a 4K display. I actually reduced the resolution to 2560 by 1600 just so it's apples to apples on the display, because this is a QHD display and I wanted to make sure they were the same.
Right, from a benchmarking standpoint, sure. Absolutely.
So they want to know, would there be any changes to the gaming bundle?
Will there be any changes to the gaming bundle? I am working on something slightly different in terms of working on colors. But hardware-wise, I wouldn't say too much. I just really like the idea of finding a way to make, like, if you order, for instance, a white Max 15,
We could put a Dexter with it, a mouse,
we
right?
will have our Dexter mouse, which is white, and then we also brought in our own covert cans, which is also white. So we're working on solutions like that, even on the HDMI. I like to stay. I'm pretty picky about how we can offer everything to try and match. I just think it looks really nice that
Yep.
way.
So Werner says, read on the Discord somewhere that RAID 0 wasn't recommended. Explain why?
So take this system that is currently set. The MSI is set to RAID 0. In my opinion, if someone is going into that system, you pull one of those drives, your RAID array is now broken, and you can end up losing all of your files. So, someone who may not know. I mean, yes, it is your PC, but I don't see the performance difference enough to make sense of RAID 0. RAID 1 is there for mirroring, but I just don't. I mean, that's entirely up to your use case, but I don't see the necessity or the benefit as to why you should do something like that. But you can certainly do it if you prefer. It's just not something that I think is
Yeah, I'd rather have the
worthwhile.
storage versus that
Yeah.
speed. I mean, as soon as solid state drives came out, that was a pretty big jump. And as they keep getting faster and faster, you don't really feel that massive increase in read write.
Yes, and sorry, this year we also have the webcam here that does have the privacy shutter, and it has its own designated. Each of these models will have the Max 15 and the HYDROC. That's another addition of what these two models offer that the Max 17 does not offer because the tooling was already done. But the Max 15 and the HYDROC have their own dedicated IR sensors for Windows Hello, and then also a camera, full HD camera, webcam, so it actually provides a better clarity, but then also the privacy shutter is there if you want a physical switch to know that it's on and
Yeah,
off.
it's a nice mechanical one, too.
Right.
So it's kind of nice.
Why does the resolution get all weird on that one?
The resolution might be funky because I had changed it to match. Again, this isn't what it natively is. This is not a 4K display, and I set this because I wanted it to be apples to apples between the two.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, we're caught up on questions, so talk about whatever you want at this point.
What else is there? I'm trying to think. So some of the stuff that we are working on different things in terms of colors, like I had said between. So this one's called Binary Noir for the black and Evan, don't you laugh. So a couple guys were just like, why don't we just call it black? I was like, no, I want to do something fun with this. I want to have some fun with the names. Trying to think about a couple other names that I can't think about what they were called, but we are going to send these units to reviewers very soon. And something that I particularly did this year was, I don't know if the SSD market and even the memory market is going crazy. I think it's just, the major suppliers and the manufacturers just weren't making any money, so they just decided to raise costs together.
Feels
even
more
though
artificial, but that's just me.
it feels artificial. Yeah, I agree. But all that to say is we stocked up on our Western Digital blacks this year, the SN850X. Is that what it's called?
SN850X.
SN850X in both the heatsink and also the regular version in case you order a dual configuration.
We've been
But we
using
will
that
also
drive.
offer the heatsink as an option. Otherwise, this actually comes with its own factory heatsink that is designed for two. But I like the idea of if you're ordering two, that it would actually be the one with the heatsink and the one with the one on the side. So then that way it's not sharing the heat between the two.
Yep.
So that was also something that we had done. These are both done? Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, those big heat sinks won't work in the Mech 17 with the way the bottom panel is on. So what do we got, fellas?
All right, so the Titan is 21,454
Overall score 21.
on Time Spy and 23,477.
Holy crap. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then what was the graphic score? What did we hit on this? 23.8. And CPU 21750.
And then should we do something like Fire Strike Ultra?
We can, as long as I can have a few seconds with that thing off. Oh, man, that's why you wanted to sit there. I see now.
Right.
What, back on the max, and we're doing the Fire Strike Ultra. Demo is off. Fans are on. You ready?
Give it a second so you can cool down a little more.
Oh shoot! Excellent. Hit it. Did you go?
I'm going.
You're going. You're going. All right.
All right. So Werner asks, explain the USB ports. One has 100-watt charging at the back. Which one has DisplayPort?
So the DisplayPort is functional through the Thunderbolt 4 port as well as the Type-C charging. They both are capable of the Type-C charging through that Thunderbolt 4 port in the rear. There's an HDMI 2.1 port obviously next to it, and then RJ45. Something I also noticed this year, the Max 15 will have the RJ45 port. I had seen I think it was Lenovo Legion Slim that seemed to have dropped that. Dropped the RJ45 port. I think that's I don't use it for myself except for when I was running crypto in my house where I just didn't want to have any wires and
The hardcore
any
will
wireless.
absolutely use it though.
Yeah.
They want that dedicated line, especially for competitive gaming.
Yeah.
There was a note from XMG about air flowing going through the keyboard. Does that mean the keyboard might be cooler or hotter?
That is correct. There is airflow that is designed into the keyboard here and here that will provide cooler experience for you, but also better cooling to the system itself.
Should be drawing air in.
I believe it is in.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah.
a USB-C on the side?
There is a USB-C on this side here on the left side if you're facing the laptop. That is correct. But I believe that's a 10 gigs per second instead of 40 gigs per second, which from what you have in the rear. Yeah, there's a USB Type A and a Type C on that side, and I believe on this other side it should just be Type A. 2 Type A's and the SD slot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Is it still running? Yeah.
Fire Strike Ultra.
Fire Strike Ultra, yeah.
So they go, might be a dumb question, but what was the thinking with the offset trackpad?
Well, a lot of times when you do the trackpad, you're going to follow where the space bar is.
Yep.
And so I think that's kind of what you're looking at here between, this is where it's going to go with it. And I originally thought this was going to be an issue with the amount of space that is here. It is not actually a problem at all. And so in addition to that, you can see that the WAS, well, not the WSD,
the arrow keys.
The arrow keys on the right-hand side would have kind of, interfered if you shifted it over any bit more. But from a typing experience, I've actually really, really enjoyed this keyboard compared to any laptop that we've had thus far. I'm trying to think what else there is. It's a glass touchpad, of course. The MSI, the other thing I noticed, that I don't think we had said it doesn't have G-Sync. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. No Advanced Optimus or G-Sync.
Mm-hmm.
That trackpad's kind of slick. It's got that haptic feel to it. It's different. It's kind of neat. The whole thing is glass up top, but this doesn't seem to do anything.
Yeah.
It's funny because on the trackpad on the MSI, actually, like you can see the flicker in the camera.
The camera shows it flickering.
Yeah.
It's at that certain frequency.
I can see that.
So ours finished. That one's still going.
14,727 on the HYDROC there.
With a GPU score of what? 14.2, CPU score of 51.5. 51,000. Wow.
It's saying that the best score right now online is 14,642. So it looks like we just took a result against the 14,900HX for 4090. I think we just took a leaderboard on the on this while we were live.
That's hilarious. Whoops.
And the MSI Titan.
14,426. That was still good.
Yeah. GPU score of 14.1, physics score of 40,975. Oh, I can turn the fans off now, right? Are you running it again? That's nice.
Are you uploading it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Werner goes, will the 6400 Manix need any heat sinks?
No. We actually have spent a lot of time tuning that so it does not thermal throttle with our testing madness. It's pretty nice. It actually stays pretty cool considering what it is. There's a lot of time going into that one. So this isn't like we order the memory modules and then install them. I have a burner machine in the office, and I literally flash every single module personally with the XMP profiles, and then I test the daylights out of them, and then I set them off to the side so our builders can put them in the machine. So it's a process. It's absolutely worthwhile, but we can confidently say that heat sinks on that would not be required nor help you at all. In fact, I don't even recommend it. I tried it. It gets really hot.
We tried. We brought in so many different things just to see, hey, could this help for heat dissipation? And it really didn't change anything or help. And also to note on that, we did try 32 gig SODIMMs at 6400 megahertz and haven't found a successful chip yet that is working that way. So
It's
right
so
now,
hot.
32 gig is going to be the max capacity that's going to work for 6400 megahertz. So if you're really looking for the frequency, that's where you need to go. Otherwise, I would stick with our 5600 megahertz.
Yes.
Why no high performance AMD CPUs?
That will happen, just not right now. I can't really go into that further right now, but I will just say that will happen, just not at the moment.
Someone says, I currently own the Covert cans. The audio mic quality seemed to downgrade from the wired version from the past. Will it be coming back?
No, I think I remember you from Discord, as a matter of fact, if this is the same person. I remember saying, I disagree. I liked both. I actually, have both between the two. The wired versions, well, I mean, there actually might be a difference between the quality if you're going wired versus wireless. I like wireless. I wear those headphones if I go to the gym. I wear those headphones if I go on the airplane. I think that they're just great overall, but then they also add in the gaming experience. And then our latest generation, the white ones, have a new microphone that we developed that was, before we were just having a real issue in terms of it wasn't 100% there. So our next generation microphone was actually an improvement to it. Was he specifically referring to the microphone though?
Yeah,
Oh, it was.
I think so.
Oh,
Right,
maybe.
mic and audio quality.
Cans the audio/mic quality.
Okay.
Do you remember all the silly testing we were doing with that? The mic testing.
There was so many different back and
Yeah.
forth between the microphone. It was crazy.
Different attachments.
Yeah, and how we were testing it. It was so fun.
Are we going to get a blue version of the laptop, like how we got a white version from last year?
A blue version of what? Sorry.
Laptop.
Like a laptop, I guess.
There will be a blue HYDROC, but it's not the blue that you would think. It's more of it almost has like a green in it, but it's not
Almost
teal.
silver.
Yeah.
It's really light, right? You're talking about that icy looking blue,
Right.
and is that just for the lid?
No, actually, for the whole HYDROC, that whole chassis will, in that particular color, will be, bottom to
Okay.
top, except
Nice.
for this internal display will be black, and then we'll have black keyboard here. We will have a white iteration, but again, that's not going to happen until June for the colors. So right now, the black, if you're wanting the HYDROC in black, and if you're wanting it soon, ASAP, that's going to be this unit when it happens. The other two, well, there's more than two colors actually in addition to this black that we'll be offering. But at the end of this month, the Max 15 we will have in white, in a really nice dark green, which is going to be my
That's
color
his,
for,
yep,
for my
absolutely.
daily driver, and then the binary noir black.
Shout out to all my Prometheus 16 G2 lovers. Thank you. I appreciate the love on that one. Is the keyboard palm area the same soft rubber finish like older models?
No, this is actually a soft touch aluminum. It does not have that rubber feel that you would feel on the Mech 17. Good question.
People are asking pricing again, and then pre-orders. When do they open?
Pre-orders will be at the end of this month. It's okay.
Okay.
Pre-orders will be at the end of this month. Again, it's really we got held up on colors. Some of the yield rates. So, for instance, I'll just put it out there. There was 10,000 of these that were just produced, and 800 were successful because of the yield was just that bad. So they actually are having an issue producing
Of the chassis color.
of the chassis. Yeah, sorry, just the chassis materials, the colors, things aren't working out as well as we thought they would. And so that was an issue that is being worked through right now. So it is a new tooling that just has taken way more time than we anticipated. And that's why we used to come out in February, we used to come out earlier, and there was times where we ended up getting delays as it was. I didn't want to have that happen this time. I want to make sure that when we're saying, hey, it's estimated to ship at this time, it's going to ship at this time, instead of doing what has happened to us in the past where we thought it was going to ship and then it didn't.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to keep that happening to you guys.
Yeah, I think the black's probably going to be the most popular anyway, to be fair. I mean, the
I
new
don't
colors
know
are
about that.
exciting, but
I love the
we
colors.
ought to make a poll, see which ones sell more.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll just see which ones sell more.
Well, we will have
we
that
could
data,
make a
won't we?
poll, but yeah, that's true. I think I love something unique. I like it when it's white. I like it when it's all white. I like it when it's different solutions that you're going to see on gold on the outside with white on the inside and a white keyboard. I think there's a lot of fun things that you can do with these. But truthfully, to get down to it, if you want to have all of a sudden those colors here, how are you supposed to do it to a liquid cooler? Because the MOQ, the minimum order quantity to produce something like that, is major to have custom colors. So it's a tough situation to continue to produce custom colors for everything, and that's what I'm trying to battle right now.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Is there something to where we could do a trade-in with our current system?
I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. I don't think it's possible to do it, to do a trade-in, policy or anything in that area. I think there's a reason why there hasn't been such an offer from laptop manufacturers to date. It's not that simple to do.
I mean, think about what GameStop has to do. You buy a $70 game and want to trade it in six months from now.
You get $1.
You get
You
you're
get
lucky
$1.
to get a quarter of the price.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is they have to do it like that because nobody's coming in that store and buying that game again the next day. It could sit there for months. A lot of times they have to throw it away. And unfortunately, this isn't much different. In fact, it might be worse. There's some people that might not want a used laptop in that way. You know what I mean? Like it's a tough sell. And I do specifically handle a lot of the used stuff, and it is hard to move. So
I agree.
When NVIDIA releases another series of mobile chips, the 50 series, I assume,
We'll
will
be
the
there.
laptops be redesigned for them, or will it just be a GPU swap with existing chassis?
Wait, sorry, say that one more time?
So when like the 50 series or the next mobile NVIDIA chips, will it be complete redesign, or will it be just a GPU swap but the chassis stays the same?
Will the motherboard be a complete redesign, I guess is the question?
or just like a new laptop redesign.
Will the laptops be redesigned for them, or will it be a GPU swap with the existing chassis? So I'm assuming motherboard is...
There is a new motherboard design in the works. I can say that. And would it incorporate into these models? Yes. All of these new models are being equipped for the fitment of what would be a next generation product should that ever come.
Werner goes, does the HYDROC 16 have the new hose connector? Explain its pros.
It is a little bit, I'm going to give a con, first of all. It is actually a little bit more difficult to disconnect. But what it the pro for sure is that the connection is ensured that it's proper. So when you're connecting in, there's a little center pin here. I don't know if you can see it. This little center pin is what's going to connect into the centerpiece.
Keep that up and I'll zoom in on it.
And that's only going to be on the one end. On the liquid cooler side, it's not going to have that.
Yeah, and this is also specifically a connection that is taking place on the HYDROC and not on the Mech 17 because it's not the tooling hasn't changed. Is there anything else that you guys want to see run, by the way, before we call it a day?
Yeah. Well, we probably don't really have much else, but
They love how much we're innovating. That's cool. GQ Nerd goes, Bob's right. All black everything. Release the Noir, or how do you say N-O?
Noir.
binary noir.
And make skins instead.
GQ Nerd, looks like you might have gotten a nice little binned Legion, by the way. I don't know if Lenovo gave that to you or if you were able to just buy it somewhere. That looks like a pretty good system. But come on, do something different than black.
I'll admit
It's a lot easier to sell black. I'll definitely
Yeah.
to even produce black. Truthfully, that's why in addition to the colors, we just even doing the white covert cans to match with the white, the LPP and the white Prometheus. It took so much back and forth between factories because plastic and aluminum doesn't actually paint the same. So even if you're using the exact same Pantone color, it doesn't mean you're going to get the same results. So it's actually a lot of back and forth to make sure you're getting as close as you possibly can to make sure that they're produced the right way.
Antonio goes, are there any discounts or any older models? Need a couple 4070 bare bones.
2 to you. TWOTOYOU, I believe, takes an extra 2% off. Not that that's saying, I believe that was supposed to be for our troops and for military, but we'll put it out here on this as well.
And it is live. RP15 bare bones are dirt cheap to buy.
It's an additional 2% off, but truthfully, there's times where we're not making 2% on a laptop, so that's this is a tough industry to be in.
Werner wants you to explain some of the RGB on the new chassis.
Okay. So the light bar here has. I'll just edit some of it real quick.
John Kindred goes, I challenge Bob to a game of Rocket League.
Very funny.
Hi, John.
Yeah, and then Mike will come out of nowhere and just beat the crap out of me in that game.
I guess are you going to explain that, or are you getting there?
I'm working on doing different
All right.
lighting effects.
Any improvements on the Eluktronics Control Center, like how Lenovo is improving on theirs?
The what is improving?
Control center? Man, I've used all the control centers under the sun.
I love
think
our
we
control
have the
center.
best,
Oh.
hands down.
Any improvements on it?
I mean, aside from changing things that were more of an aesthetic thing, but I just wanted this year to not having a green effect where
It
you're in
looks
there.
better.
It's blue.
It's pretty slick.
It's just to match more with our color. But there is not a gigantic improvement to the control center. But I've tried multiple control centers, and this is my favorite by far.
Absolutely have, and ours is so easy to use.
Antonio, I agree. He says you need Evan to run game testing sessions a couple days out of the month. I agree, and I think I'm going to try to push that now that more
What if you
people are
hit the
asking
wave?
about game testing. So
I'm trying to do. There we go.
Keep your
Flash.
eyes peeled for that, or in the Discord for updates on that.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of the RGB effects, you can obviously just highlight the whole keyboard. You could go to user mode here. You can choose your color. I don't know if you can see any of this, Evan, or not. So you choose the color and you highlight through, and that's what it changes to, just like that. And it is per key, so you could just choose, if you want it to be, let's grab this white here. Just stuff like that for the per key.
Freeman's in chat.
there are modes. Hey, Prima, there are keyboard lights here for, you can choose different options for the keyboard backlighting as well. But that's just more with modes if you're not going through the per key solution if you wanted it that way.
What is the state of heatsink upgrades for 13th gen? Too costly?
It is. I mean, I don't know how to do this with the heat sinks because let's just say we bring in a heat sink and it's going to cost you, it could be $100 by the time we get it shipped in. If it costs $100 for the heat sink and we ship you that heat sink, you really want to take the chance of, I mean, I know there are people who are more than capable of doing this, but one single drop of liquid metal and your $3,000, $2,000, I don't know what system you bought, is now done, and I'd feel terrible for you. I don't know what else to say aside from sorry. We want to offer this to you. You can ship it in, but then in that case, you're ending up paying us to do it, and it's just going to cost a lot of money
The labor,
to do
the
it.
shipping,
It's tough, but I'm 100% willing to do it. I just feel bad if something happens, and we're going to have to have you. Basically check mark a disclosure saying, I understand what I'm about to do to my system. And if you decide to do it yourself, and if it's under warranty, that's really putting us in a more difficult situation because we are an authorized service center of our ODM. We're actually the only one in the United States who are. And even that tamper evidence sticker, I know, from a legal standpoint, you can't say, hey, that voids your warranty, just like how MSI has the warranty void sticker on there. But it's more so because then at that point we know, all right, something's been tampered with. And even from our ODM standpoint, if they get it back from us saying, hey, this has been tampered with, they're going to do some high scrutiny into it. And if it turns out that way, there's going to be a lot of downtime for it to make sure that your system is, one, that it wasn't, something that was accidentally damaged on your part. And the other thing is just, that's what I don't like. The downtime, the cost, the things that could cost to you and the impact that it could have if it really ends up being a broken unit after you do this. So it's not something that we're opposed to continue to offer. I will happily carry that. It's just a matter of, are you really willing to take that risk?
They want to know if the screen is matte or gloss.
It is a matte display.
And then ASR James, he just said thermal pads that Linux promotes.
Thermal pads that who promotes?
Did he mean Linus? He said Linux.
Everything about this system, cooling wise, has been advanced. I mean, the thermal pads that are used are awesome. Bob, what was the really sticky stuff that we used where we were trying it? Was it G-Lid?
K5 Pro.
K5 Pro.
It was Linus. He did say Linus.
Okay. That K5 Pro is great, but it is a mess to work with.
Yeah.
This is not like that, but it is properly done. The thermal pads on this are done very well. Obviously, with the liquid cooling, the liquid metal applied to the CPU and GPU, also done from the factory as well. So that's something that we're trying to keep it contained for. I would really hope that you're not going to pull it off. We hardly ever pull them off on our own systems.
Yeah, it's not often at all.
Yeah.
Will there be Windows Dynamic Lighting API support for RGB? Heard Microsoft is pushing OEM ODMs to do so.
We don't have any plans for that at this time. We also don't have any plans on changing the keyboard to reflect a certain key. I think that's early, but I've seen it on some others. I think that's Copilot based. Is that right?
I think so.
Man, it feels nice to have those fans off.
It does.
Yeah, it's completely different.
Yeah.
So quiet. We're caught up on questions, so... Oh, never mind. The only improvement I can think of for the Electronics Control Center is the RGB control. The keyboard lighting animations are much more sudden compared to others. That might be the LEDs themselves, though.
Yeah, I know what he's talking about. So like the fluidity and motion. Yes,
Oh.
some of the settings in there do that, and some have that sort of effect. So I do know what you mean. Yeah, I think that's something that maybe can just evolve over time. But
Use at the desk in there, the smaller one.
Yeah.
Really flowy
Yeah.
RGB at the bottom. I really like that. Yeah, so we've gone over the 18-inch. We aren't expecting that until next year.
We will just say that we won't have one this year.
Okay, right. And then we're caught up on questions.
nice.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for joining. I think this was fun. It's cool to see our Max 15 beat this Titan.
That was hysterical. To be fair, we knew it was going to because we put in a lot of time, and Will thought it would be fun to play a joke and pretend that it was the HYDROC.
It's true. But even for an out-of-box experience for the Max 15 to hit, what, 32.9?
Yeah, almost 33. In fact, you did hit 33.
I did hit
33.014
33.014 today. But yeah, it's a very respectable laptop for its size, especially. It's a 15.3-inch laptop, by the way. It's not a 15.6-inch. And
16 by 10 still.
One of my favorite parts about that Max 15 as well is, while it's, I don't know if you can see this, Evan, but I think you can. These two, this corner here, why am I doing this, showing the HYDROC when I have the Max 15 next to me?
You can also go up to the, well, I guess you can't, but I can zoom in.
Yeah. So this
It is
isn't
right to the edge.
This is an edge-to-edge keyboard design in comparison to the HYDROC, which uses the same keyboard, but you can see right here, I mean, it really is just following the edge-to-edge of this design. And this is one of I just love this. Oops, sorry. I think it's a very sleek, very nice-looking laptop that we will offer in multiple colors. So, yeah.
There's more questions now. Werner goes, this has the new function of switching iGPU or DGPU, right?
It does have the ability, both units, the Max 15 and the HYDROC, have the ability to select between iGPU, MS Hybrid, and, well, technically DDS, which is considered Advanced Optimus, and DGPU is an option as well, of course.
The HYDROC is not the Max replacement. They are going to be two separate
Correct.
computers.
The HYDROC is going to be our flagship computer, offering 4080 and 4090 with an i9-14900HX, and the Max 15 will offer an i9-14900HX as well, except with RTX 4060 and RTX 4070.
And Leggy, don't go for next week. I'll have to figure out when I can do the gaming test, but I don't have a set time for that yet. So, but that's it. So if you guys want to say goodbye, or if you want to ask more questions, it's up to you guys.
If you missed anything, the stream will go live somewhat shortly after we close this. Yeah, and then the comments will follow later. But yeah, so if you want to see what the performance is for various tests, that did happen pretty early on. So feel free to take a look at that, especially the integrated graphics Cinebench R23 performance. It's very nice.
38,000, baby.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's amazing.
And you didn't mess with anything.
No XU profiles. It's just set to custom profile, max PL1, PL2, PL4.
Yep, all done in Control Center.
Yeah, all done in Control Center. And when we were doing the settings on the MSI Titan, we had that set to extreme profile.
Extreme profile.
Max fans, which is, like you said, it's an absolute tornado
It is.
sounding. It
And
is
it got
so
about
loud.
34.5 on the score.
34.5, yeah. But I'm not saying that there's not more that you could undo of that MSI. I'm sure there is, but this is what you're getting from the factory versus what you're going to get from the factory for us.
Yeah. And there's going to be some variance there with the Silicon Lottery. Like, we
Sure.
can't control that, so you might get a couple hundred points, 500 points, but who cares? I mean, that's
Right. Yep.
that's pretty phenomenal.
Very true.
Okay, say goodbye.
All right.
Thank
Peace out,
you.
everybody.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.